This is what I think y'all need to understand. America is in a downwards position. There ain't no coming back up. It's in a downwards position. You asking yourself, why is this? America has too much blood on her hands. She have did too much wrong in this world. We have allowed these boogers, I'm gonna call them boogers, old ass YT people, to put us in a predicament where we can't get out. It don't matter if it's a natural disaster. Motherfucker is not coming to our rescue. You know how much bad we did in the world, and you think a motherfucker finna come help us? It ain't no jumping out. Pick a side. You in America, you gotta face the consequences.
Shalom, shalom. The title of this lesson is Mystery Babylon the Great. Too much blood is on her hands. Mystery Babylon is America. Through the Spirit, if you understand prophecy. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to the one true power, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well and teach well through the Spirit. And a mighty shalom to those elect that are scattered four corners of the earth, teaching His word and believing His word, Lord willing, as a whole, you all continue in sound doctrine and in the same Spirit. Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson. Again, Mystery Babylon the Great is a persecuting and wealthy worldly power that has accumulated tremendous blood, guilt through oppression and violence and the persecution of the servants of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And the central warning is this: do not become comfortable in Babylon speaking to you elect Israelites. I'm not speaking to all nations that are going to get saved, because they're not, but all of you elect Israelites that are scattered four corners of the earth, swallowed up in the midst of the other nations. The scriptures describe a system that becomes drunk with power, wealth, and the blood of the saints, and immorality. When we apply these characteristics to America, we can see why many see America as Mystery Babylon the Great, because it's a mystery, and mysteries have to be revealed, and Babylon is Babel, confusion. So we can look at the characteristic of confusion, and we can look at the point of it being a mystery, because in the scriptures you do not hear plainly the word America or plainly the word Russia. Okay? So Revelation gives us the identity through His characteristics. Let's hop into Revelations, the 17th chapter. This is Revelations chapter 17, verse 1 and 2. And this is what John sees. And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore, that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the king of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Now, just want to say the many waters is when you drop down to verse 15, just to show you what the many waters is. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest in verse 1, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. So it's going to be a nation that is going to be what? Sitting upon many waters. Now, I'm going to show something real quick. Right here, when you go to Daniel, the 7th chapter, verse 23, you should go read it. When it speaks about the fourth beast would devour the whole earth. Ancient Rome didn't devour the whole earth, but yes, it devoured the ancient world that was known. But that fourth beast, which rose again, starting in the Renaissance, eventually during the time of America establishing its empire, had military footprint. And it says over 742 military bases in 82 countries and territories. America has the most military footprint out of all nations, right? They have military, military agreement with 179 countries. Civil military personnel deployed 226,762. That's a lot. And 176 countries and territories aside from the 2.6 million stationed in the US, right? And it says, even in the left corner, it says countries with military bases. And the green is country territories with military agreement. Come on, man. And look at this picture. The US military is everywhere. This is the example of what we read in Revelation chapter 17, verse 1, and even in verse 15. This is what John sees, a great whore that sitteth upon many waters. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Because if we line certain things, like Job 9:24, the earth is given to the hands of the wicked. This is where you would say Daniel 7:23, that they devoured the whole world, and Job 9:24. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of what? America's fornication, because they push that law and legislation throughout the earth, their commerce and BS. And this is not merely describing a literal woman. The chapter later explains that the woman represents a great city system with tremendous political, economic influence. And when we read verse 15, so her influence reached peoples, nations, and tongues. And then I even show the demonstration of how do they really devour? By military might. It's not, oh, the American people move here and here. No, they do it by the military. Just like when Rome or the Greeks, to spread power and to say you had land, you push your military to overtake. So that is important, because Mystery Babylon is not present as some insignificant local kingdom. She has international influence, and she is called Babylon the Great. When we look at verse 5, it says, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, the abomination of the earth. Now, when it comes to these prophecies, we're revealing a couple things. Mystery Babylon, we're speaking of, it's America. The whore is America, the place. But then we're going to speak on who's ruling, because it can't be the land. It has to be the ruler. Because if we go into Sirach and the GNT, it all makes plain sense when we put the pieces together. So this is Sirach, Ecclesiastes chapter 10. This is what I wanted to show you. Verse 1, it says, a wise ruler will educate his people, and his government will be orderly. All the officials and all the citizens will be like their ruler. An uneducated king will ruin his people, but a government will grow strong if its rulers are wise. So even if we go back to Revelations, the 17th chapter, of course we're speaking about the place, because this is where that whore, it's, doing all her abominations. But it is a whole system, 7 heads, 10 horns, right? The NATO and the EU. But who is ruling it? Of course, off of what we just read, we can tell that we're being ruled, especially when we look at commerce, the money. Who are we giving tribute to? Look at the money. Look who's on the face of your money. There's so many things that has to be revealed, because it says Mystery Babylon. Babylon is confusion. The mystery has to be revealed. Let's see if this is going to give us the meaning of mystery in the Greek. G3466.
Strong's G 3466, Mustadion. Mustadion.
Mustadion. The biblical usage for mystery is hidden thing, secret, mystery. Now, the hidden thing, the secret, the mystery is being revealed, is being manifest, right? So just like, what is it? 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, which happened in 70 AD, leading in all the way until that 350 years of, those children or the elect getting the breath of life and standing up boldly. In that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Simultaneously, when they start to stand on their feet, Revelations 11, that's going to be the time of the man of sin to be revealed, the son of perdition. And then verse 4 expound even more on who the men of sin is and who the son of perdition is. This son of perdition is not Judas Iscariot, because he was of perdition, but it's another one that Paul is speaking about. In verse 4 describes him plainly, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High. It's only one power, and it's only one nation by power that tried to call themselves the Most High, or that is worship, so that he as the Most High sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High, right? And there's only one nation trying to depict himself as the Most High, or the Son, or the angels of the Most High. Just like how you might have a nation posing that they're Buddha or they're this, but it's a nation posing to be the Israelites' God, to believe, to make false images of being the Son of the Most High, who is an Israelite. What nation is this? Those that was given this world in wickedness. When we look at Job, the 13th chapter, verse 4. But ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians of no value. Right? They're physician of no value because they have forged lies. Who? Those that have the world in their hands. Job 9:24. The earth is given to the hand of the wicked. He covers the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? And if we fully understand deeply in prophecy, Esau's what was prophesied to him, it started in the Greek captivity, but it was all about the end times, because the Lord declared the end before the beginning. In order to have a renaissance, a rebirth, to bring back that same power, the power had to be here in the beginning, which was in the Greek captivity. Every time Esau got into power, wickedness increased, from the Greek captivity to the Roman captivity when they fell, and then in the Renaissance. These have to line. And if it says the earth is given to the hand of the wicked, we know all nations are wicked, but it's a nation that is the border of all wickedness. And this is why precepts have to line. And if it says that he opposeth himself to be the Most High, or the Son of the Most High, and this one says he covered the face of the judges, it's very plain if we look in history who made image of making themselves of the Most High or the angels, like Cupid with wings and butt naked, or made theyself like Yahushai and then changed his name. We can go to Wisdom of Solomon, which is even speaking about another time, which we can even line that with the Babylonian or the Greek captivity. But you can even see this in the time of in the Renaissance. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 14th chapter, starting at verse. I just want to get straight to the point. Starting at verse 14, it says, for by the vainglory of men they entered into the world, and therefore shall they come surely to an end. For a father afflicted with untimely mourning, when he hath made an image of his child soon taken away, now honor him as a God, which was then the dead man, delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices. Thus in process of time an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law, and graven images or worship by the commandments of kings. Right? And there's multiple times in history this example was used, what the heathens have done. Okay? But it's even the same that happened when they tried to make almost the same with the Caesar Borgia picture, so-called Jesus. So going back to Revelations, right? Because we're speaking of America being Babylon. We're speaking of the rulers of that Babylon being of the nation of Esau, Edom, because if this is the last captivity, they have to be the last ruler, because they're the end of the world. 2nd Esdras 6 and 9. So again, with Revelation 17 and 5, notice the language. Mystery, Babylon, great, mother of harlots, abominations of the earth. This represents a system that has become extremely influential and has spread its corruption outward. Babylon is drunk with the blood of the saints. This is one of the strongest points. When we look at verse 6, and it says, I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. Right? We have to go in time of history, right? And if this is speaking about America, we're speaking about the whole time, right? It says, and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua, which this fully haven't happened. That's the last part, is in this end time. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration, right? Those that get martyred is basically in the time of the MOTB. That hasn't happened. That's why you have a comma. But when we look at verse 6, it happened ever since this beast became a power, and even before they became a power. When we look at Revelations, the 11th chapter, verse 7, it says, and when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit is Europe, right? Pit going into land. 2nd Esdras, the 5th chapter, verse 24. Bottomless because it's unbarren, it's unfruitful, right? So this is the bottomless pit. Send out of the bottomless pit and shall make war against them and shall overcome them and kill them. This verse links with Revelations, the 20th chapter, verse 1, 2, and 3, because these are visions. And this is why we have to pinpoint the vision. Who is this beast? This same beast this is a reflection of what is in Rome, the 12th chapter, right? This is speaking about Rome. Rome is the beast that fell. When you go to Revelation, the 13th chapter, it was wounded and it healed. Rome is the beast that fell. This is the beast that ascended into the bottomless pit. Who was those that dwell in the Carcass Mountain? It was Esau, Edom. This is a spiritual event, okay, with a nation that was in power that the Lord is speaking of in past tense. When we look at Revelations, the chapter after that, which goes back into history from verse 1 to 2, is speaking about Israel, right? Then verse 3 and 4 is speaking about the red dragon, which is Rome. And of course, it's speaking about the tail that drew the third part of the stars. The tail is speaking about Herod, right? Who was what? The ruler of the Jews. The third part is talking about those that he have, killed, looking for Yahushua. Judah, Benjamin, it was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. He was killing newborn children, okay? Everything lines up. You have to know the puzzle. So Babylon isn't merely guilty of ordinary wickedness. She is specifically associated with the blood of the saints and the martyrs. And things that are written is already predestined. The things that haven't even happened is predestined to happen. And they're going to happen at the appointed time. Habakkuk or Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, verse 3. Read it. It's all for an appointed time. Okay? So now, this is why we got to understand that persecution is part of her identity. Let's look at Revelations, the 18th chapter again. But let's go to verse 24. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. Now, we got to understand and know the prophets is those of the 144,000. The servants of the Lord, the first fruits. And the saints is those of the 1/3, right? The other men, women, and children. Saints as in the faithful. The saints as those that made a sacrifice made a covenant with the Lord through sacrifice. from those in past tense and those that are present, because we're still making sacrifices through the Spirit. And all of and of all that were slain upon the earth, those from the past and those that are in the present, and that's leading into the future. And this is an enormous indictment. The language describes Babylon as having blood guilt associated with the killing of the Most High servants and victims of her system. So why too much blood is on her hands is such a powerful thing. Look at the progression. When we look at Revelation 17:6, Babylon is drunk with the blood of the saints. Revelations 18:24, the blood of the prophets and the saints is found in her. Revelations 18:5, her sins have reached unto heaven. When you even look at 2nd Esdras, 2nd Esdras 15, verse 6, it says, "For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled." So, if wickedness polluted, let's just look at if wickedness have exceedingly polluted. Let's look at the history pattern. When the Lord, even though all nations are wicked, even the Israelites are wicked, but it's a level where wickedness, went extreme. We got in the time of Noah where it got extremed. But then we have even more in history when we look at the four beasts. You had the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks, and the Romans. When did wickedness even increase in those times? Let's look in history, which is very important. 1 Maccabees, chapter 1. And I'm just going to get straight to the point. It's starting at verse 7. It says, "So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth." Before I read the next verse, if you understand the history, when Alexander was in power, the Greeks had one, like the rulership was in one system under Alexander. When they were given the position of, having to be the successors, they divided it. And now you have the Seleucians, you have the Battonians, you have people of I forgot how you said, but Chittim and them. And it was not in the same mindset. Just to show you that even Esau bump heads with each other, just like with Jake. Just like how we look at everything, where you see is all different denominations of Christianity. You got different congregations of, the Israelites teaching. It's always a difference, but somebody has to be telling the truth and somebody has to be telling a lie. But right here, it shows when Alexander was about to fall, they divided the power, and wickedness or evils multiplied in the earth. When the Greeks got in power, these are the Edomites, the Idumeans, because in the Greeks, this is what you call the Edomite, Idumean. That's the Greek word. In verse 10, it says, "And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in Hoshes at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks." Now, you can go into Daniel the 8th chapter and even go even further, but you could just read 1st and 2nd Maccabees and understand how wicked they became, right? Because eventually the Israelites wasn't able to call themselves Israelites, Jews. They couldn't circumcise their sons. They couldn't do the Sabbath, the new moons. They had to really convert or not be put to death. That was worse than a lot of the other nations. The Babylonians, they will put you to death if you didn't bow down to the Nebuchadnezzar statue. Every one of these nations were wicked, but it's one nation that is the border of wickedness that go overboard, and that is Esau, Edom. Okay? So even if you go back to Revelations, the 18th chapter, in verse 7, it says, "How much she have glorified herself, and live deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Lining with Isaiah 47. But this is another example of what it says in Jeremiah, I believe, the 9th chapter, verse 23 to 24, while we shouldn't glory in riches and, in wisdom and so, but glory in knowing and understanding Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And this is how we know these rulers that's ruling Babylon, they have no connection, or they don't believe in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. This is why they would not glory in the Lord, but they glory in their power that they will never be stripped from. But we see in prophecy that it's already stated is going to happen, and it's all in the Lord's time. In verse 8 it says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahweh Shai power who judgeth her. And sometimes days can mean a year. All of this can take place in a year. All of this can take place in a day, right? Because Jacob's trouble, that can take place in a day, or that could take place in a year. And just showing you, days can mean years. It can mean a year, or it can mean years. I believe it's Numbers 14, verse 34. It says, after the number of the days in which ye search the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall ye bear your iniquities for 40 years, and ye shall know my breach of promise. So it could be a day, or it could be a year. Okay? And she glories herself and live deliciously. Okay? Again, Revelations 18:7, how much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore her plagues come in one day, right? That day can be a literal one day, or it could be a year. Within 1 year, 12 months. Just like look at 2025, back-to-back motion throughout the weeks. Just imagine back-to-back in 1 year, right? It says, shall her plagues come in one day. What is the plagues? Death, mourning, famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahweh Shai power who judgeth her. Right? This can be in 1 day. This can be within a year that this take place. So judgment is going to come upon her. The message is Babylon can accumulate wealth, power, and influence and luxury, but she cannot escape judgment. Babylon sits as a queen, what we seen in Revelations 18:7. This is the mentality of Babylon. This is the mentality of Esau, Edom, those that are the border of wickedness. Okay, you got to have the spirit to discern that it is Esau, Edom. Nothing can happen to me, right? Donald Trump showed it when Zelensky said, you got a big body of water, so you don't know how it feels. But he said, one day you're going to feel it. Hurry up. Donald Trump hurried up and said, man, you don't know. But through the spirit, the Lord has Zelensky say that. Because in prophecy, America is going to get touched with modern day weapons. Because Esau in Revelation 6, he has a great sword. Literally, he was blessed with the sword. But a sword, when you look from ancient times to now, is multiple things. Okay? And he was blessed with it. She believes her power makes her untouchable. But Yahweh says otherwise, what we just read in verse 8. Her confidence becomes her downfall. And Babylon is extremely wealthy. That's why in Revelation 18, it repeatedly emphasized her merchandise and wealth. But let me just go to this real quick, because everything that John the Revelator is speaking on is dang near the same thing that Isaiah was speaking on. Okay? In Isaiah, the 47th chapter, verse 1 in the NLT, it says, come down, virgin daughter of Babylon. It's called virgin, right? Virgin of Babel, because it hasn't been touched. We have to really look at this being America, because America really hasn't been touched as a whole. For days of sitting on a throne have ended, O daughter of Babylon. Never again will you be the lovely princess, tender and delicate, right? Tender and delicate with that wealth. Take heavy millstones and grind flour. Remove her veil and strip off her robe. Expose yourself to public view. And we're already doing it through the Spirit by these lessons. But he's already doing it by fulfilling these testimonies. And you will be naked and burdened with shame, and I will take vengeance against you without pity. Our Redeemer, whose name is the Lord Yahweh of heaven's army, is the Holy One of Israel. O beautiful Babylon, sit down in darkness and silence. Never again will you be known as the Queen of Kingdoms. And that's what this is. This is a queendom. This is a freaking queendom that stems from England. And the Lord is going to strip them from power and put real authority, right, is going to be given, which is already is, to Hamashiach Yahushai. For I was angry with my chosen people and punished them by letting them fall into your hands. And these wicked rulers, Esau, Edom, and you other nations, think you did it on your own. No, Daniel 2 shows you the Lord set up kings and removed kings. Daniel 4:17, it says that he put the bases of men, in power. Bases mean lowest. Who's the lowest of all people? That would be Esau, Edom. In this time, that would be the so-called white man and woman, right? It says, but you, Babylon, showed them no mercy. You oppressed even the elderly. And when you look at the law, because when we look at this law, it pertains to Israel and all captivities, all of them. You just have to know to line it and pinpoint it. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 50. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 50. A nation of fiercer countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young. Right? They don't give a damn for the old or the young. When you go to Sirach, the 12th chapter, it says that it won't even be satisfied with blood. Look at all these damn different flu shots. Look at the education. They're trying to build your children to work in their system, right? So that they can continue to be greedy and continue to have money flow, right? They don't give a damn about your children or the elder. That don't only just fit America. It fits wherever Jake at, because Jake is in multiple captivities, 4 corners of the earth. But if we look at the 4 major captivities in Daniel, the 2nd and 7th chapter, right, that Jake was affected by that, and each time those curses was a reality. Babylon is extremely wealthy. Let's look at Revelations, the 18th chapter again, and let's go to verse 11. It says, the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and silver, and precious stones, and pearls, and fine linen, and purple, and silk, and scarlet, and all thine wood, and all manner of vessels of ivory, and all manner of vessels of precious wood, and of brass, and of iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariot, and slaves, and souls of men. The merchants mourn because nobody buys their merchandise anymore. The chapter lists enormous amount of luxury goods. This tells us something important. Babylon isn't merely military powerful. She is economically powerful. Her influence reaches commerce, merchants, kings, and nations. And we're seeing this in the scriptures. I'm going to go and ask ChatGPT, and we can even further this investigation. So I asked the question, is it true that America isn't merely military power? America is economically powerful. America's influence reaches commerce, merchants, and kings in other nations. Isn't that true? ChatGPT said yes. That is a much broader and more accurate way to understand America's power. America is not merely a military superpower. Its influence operates through military power, economic power, financial power, commercial power, political influence, cultural influence, and that is partially relevant when studying Revelations 18, where Babylon is described not simply as a conquering army, but as a commerce and an economic center, whose fall affects merchants, kings, and international trade. I did not ask this for any Bible information. I'm asking directly about America, its economic and its military might. I never said nothing about no Bible, but it brought up something in Revelation 18 that we're already speaking about. America has enormous economic influence. The United States has one of the world's largest economies, and the US dollar plays a central role in international finance, trade, American financial institution, markets, corporations, technology companies, consumer market have influence far beyond America borders. So when you say American influence reaches commerce, merchants, kings, and other nations, that is absolutely a legitimate description of America's global economic reach. Look at Revelations 18. Revelations 18 emphasizes something very important. The merchants of the earth are waxed rich through abundance of her delicacies. Revelations 18:3. The merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. Revelation 18:11. Notice what John is describing. He is talking about merchants, merchandise, trade, wealth, ships, commercial goods, kings, economic relationship. And then Revelation says, in Revelations 18-23, by all sorceries were all nations deceived. So Babylon's influence is betrayed as reaching other nations, not merely its own population. Now, I can keep on reading this, but it's really just making plain sense off of everything we're already speaking on. Okay, so let's get back into the precepts. So Revelation 18:3, it says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. So Babylon makes the merchants rich. Therefore, her influence extends throughout the world's economic system. So we're going to continue this in a part 2, because I want to make sure that this lesson is precise on the points that's being brought out, and that you're able to take this information and be able to watch the lesson from beginning to end. So until the next lesson, Shalom, shalom, Abba Ball, call Allah Yahweh Bashim El Shai, Bashim Rakakodash. Shalom.